Welcome back to the Truth Factory. I want to talk about the Paris Agreement and why everybody seems to have their panties in a twist about it. This is how the Huffington Compost feels about Trump today. Gee, I just wish they would tell us how they really feel. Everybody seems to be super mad that Trump didn't sign this agreement. People see this agreement and they see that it's for the environment and therefore it must be good, and therefore anybody who opposes it is a big, bad villain. Because most people get their education about the environment from Dr. Seuss's book, The Lorax, like this guy on Twitter who says he speaks for the trees. Well, the trees need CO2 to grow, so maybe you should devote your time speaking for other nonverbal things, like a chair or a toaster. Because almost nobody seems to understand what this agreement actually is. I don't even think most of the countries involved really understand it. Even Gina McCarthy, who is the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, is unable to say how much this treaty will decrease global temperatures. For the trillions of dollars being pumped into this protocol, those numbers are important. Or should trillions of tax dollars just be gambled on blind faith? It just seems vague, and I wonder what's really going on here, because on the surface it sounds great. Sure, get all the countries in the world to lower their carbon emissions and slow down or stop global warming. The seas stop rising, all the polar bears live, world peace, fantastic, great. But we've seen all of this somewhere before. Does anybody remember the Kyoto Protocol from Japan, which started in 2005? And it failed. It basically wasted the last 10 to 15 years on something that wasn't effective. And that is why I have a healthy level of skepticism about this Paris Agreement. Because people seem to think that all this money comes from just the government. Where do you think the government gets its money? From your tax dollars. For example, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a man in my opinion who needs to go back to being a drama teacher, nice hair though, is super pissed that Trump didn't sign this agreement. But from someone who actually lives in Canada, yeah, that might surprise you that this cat is a fucking leaf. Honestly, all I see is my monthly heating bill triple because of industry taxes. And for what? To give undisclosed amounts of money to India and China to spend on industry development without any sort of measurable guarantee that this is even going to work? The Kyoto Protocol penalized countries that joined that were not able to reduce a measurable amount of emissions set forth by its policies. So countries like China and India, which are some of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases, said, fuck that, I don't want to join, that's going to cost me a lot of money. But the Paris Agreement basically says, well, we will take billions of dollars from first world nations and give it to developing nations like India and China to develop greener technologies. It's basically a transfer of wealth. And the catch is that they aren't penalized if they overproduce these emissions. And here's another thing. China is poised to take over the US economy by early next year. So why the fuck would the USA want to not only inhibit their own economy by reducing emissions, but actually fucking fund their rival's economy to the tune of $100 billion over the next several years, with some very fucking rich people standing to get even fucking richer as these third world economies go green. It's a huge industry, and I don't trust anyone who plays something up as altruistic and then pads their wallet at the same time. Playing on the liberals' heartstrings as a promise to stop the seas from rising, and it will heal all the dying polar bears, even though there is no damn proof that this is going to do anything. All the while, the world leaders in this agreement take their private jets to meet once a year and eat filet mignon paid for by your tax dollars while they smell each other's farts because no one knows what the fuck they're doing. I mean, even if we agree that climate change is real and humans are causing it, there is no evidence whatsoever, none, that spending trillions of dollars to the third world will have any impact at all. The highest numbers that I could find suggested that the mean global temperature might be reduced by 0.3 of a degree by the end of the century and would cost the world $10 trillion by that point to do that little, all while the rich get richer and your wallet gets smaller. I can think of about 10 trillion reasons that this is not the answer. So now you're probably like, what the fuck do you know? You're a cat on a YouTube news channel. Well, I think you approach climate change like you eat an elephant, one piece at a time, in your basement where no one can judge you for eating elephants. Sure, we can say that something has to be done, but I'm really not sure the Paris Agreement is the right thing. Like the Kyoto Protocol, I think this might just be another ineffective 15 years down the drain where we could have been doing something better. I figure we should find something that can guarantee a measurable difference before we sell it to the world to the tune of $10 trillion. But I would say take the money that you'd be investing into the Paris Agreement and invest it into properly controlled nuclear energy. It takes a lot of capital to start up, but after that you basically have clean, almost free energy forever. Put the money into the research and development of technologies that not only produce less carbon emissions, but actually reduce the carbon footprint by taking carbon dioxide and turning it into oxygen. Like a fucking tree. If trees can do that, why can't we make machines that mimic a super tree? I say we can. Tax large companies that produce carbon emissions and encourage green technologies. Stop industrialized farming and make an international law that penalizes countries for destroying their rainforest. Stop feeding billions of dollars into the development of China's industries unless you want to fucking speak Chinese in 10 years. And that is what I think of the Paris Agreement. Thank you for listening, and like always, like and subscribe. Have a great night. Meow.